Hello, good day to you. Thank you so much for coming here. Today we start a new program, Reading in the Garden. Reading in the Garden is a program in the fashion of reading for pleasure. And for Reading in the Garden, we commence the program with this book. We start with this book, Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights is one of the books in the series Great Stories in Easy English. Today we would start from introduction, which is also the chapter 1, and we may take 2 or 3 chapters before we call it a day till the next episode, and it will continue that way until we have finished Wuthering Heights and taking the lessons from Wuthering Heights. After that, we may take another book in the series Great Stories in Easy English, or we may go to another book entirely. But for now, let's read Wuthering Heights. The title of this first chapter is A Strange Family, from the diary of Mr. Lockwood for the year 1801. Mr. Lockwood visits Wuthering Heights. So I begin the reading. November 20th, 1801. Don't forget, we are reading from the diary of Mr. Lockwood for the year 1801, and this is the entry in that diary on the 20th of November 1801. After years of searching, I have found what I think is the perfect house to live in. Cross Branch. It is large, comfortable, and old-fashioned. Best of all, it is cut off from the rest of the world by a large park. Here I shall have that peace and quiet that I need so much. My nearest neighbor is 4 miles away. He is my landlord, Mr. Heathcliff by name. I went to visit him today, as I am the tenant. I felt obliged to do so. He is living in Wuthering Heights, a farmhouse built high up on hill. Wuthering is a word used in this part to describe the strong winds which strike the hilltop. It is indeed a desolate and melancholy place. It was built long ago, for over the door was the date 1500, and the name Captain Anshaw, the name of the founder, I suppose. Mr. Heathcliff gave me a surly greeting and did not offer to shake hands with me. However, he invited me into his living room, a huge and comfortable room that had all the characteristics of the home of a gentleman farmer. But what a strange gentleman farmer Mr. Heathcliff was. His clothes and manners were those of a gentleman. Otherwise, I would have taken him for a gypsy. His skin was dark, his hair deep black, and his black eyes had a fierce wide look in them. We talked for a time on the conditions of my tenancy, and then on different matters. I found him intelligent and cultured. I asked him if I might call again tomorrow. With marked unwillingness, he said that I might. I intend to go again. I intend to go again. Mr. Heathcliff has a strange history behind him, I feel sure. I am curious to know it. And that ends chapter 1. Don't forget, this is reading in the garden. My name is Bola Omotayo, and we are reading the book Wuthering, one of the books in the series Great Stories in Easy English. We just finished the introduction, which is the chapter 1, and now I read to you chapter 2. Mr. Lockwood visits Wuthering Heights again. And remember, we are reading from the diary of Mr. Lockwood. So in that diary, he writes November 22nd. Don't forget, he was there on November 20th, and he asked Mr. Heathcliff whether he could call back. Mr. Heathcliff said reluctantly that it's okay for Lockwood to come back. Now, he was there on the 21st, but this entry is on the 22nd. November 22nd, and you remember the year 1801. Yesterday, that is on the 21st, yesterday afternoon, I paid my second visit to Mr. Heathcliff. I started off in the afternoon and walked 4 unpleasant miles in the cold and misty weather. When I arrived at Wuthering Heights, you remember where Wuthering Heights is? Wuthering Heights is where Mr. Heathcliff's house sits upon. Wuthering Heights is the hill on which Mr. Heathcliff has his house. So, when I arrived at Wuthering Heights, the snow was falling fast. I hurried through the yard, and a sour-faced fellow shouted to me from a barn, "What do you want?" "Is there anybody at home?" "Nobody but the mistress. She won't let you in even if you shout till nightfall." "Why not? Please go and tell her that I am the tenant from the Grange." "Oh no, it's not my business." The disagreeable fellow, whose name I later learned was Joseph, went farther into the barn and left me there in the wind and snow. Fortunately for me, a young man appeared and shouted to me to follow him. I followed him into the huge, warm, comfortable room I had been in the previous day. I hastened towards the blazing fire to warm my frozen feet and hands. Then I looked round. A lady was sitting at a table which was laid for an abundant dinner. I bowed to her, but she did not ask me to sit down. "Stormy weather, Mrs. Heathcliff," I said to her. She said nothing, but stared at me in a very unpleasant manner. "Sit down," the young man said roughly. "He'll be here in a minute." "It's snowing hard," I said. "You should have stayed at home," the lady told me. She stood up and came to the fireplace to take a tin from the shelf above. I then saw that she was a beautiful young girl, not more than 17. She had the loveliest face that I have ever seen. The shelf high, and she could hardly reach the tin. I moved to get it down for her. Sit down, she said rudely. I can reach it without your help. I beg your pardon. Were you asked to tea? She said to me, standing there with a teaspoonful of tea in her hand. I should very much like a cup, I told her. Were you asked? She repeated impatiently. No, I said, but perhaps you will ask me. Instead of doing so, she threw the tea and spoon back into the tin and sat down again with a very sullen look on her pretty face. Meanwhile, the young man was sitting there scowling at me. Who was he? His clothes, his speech, his rough brown hands were those of a servant. And yet he had a proud air of a master. A few minutes later, Mr. Heathcliff came in. You see, sir, I have come as I said. Do you mind if I stay here for half an hour till the storm is over? I asked him. Half an hour, he exclaimed, shaking the snow off his clothes. This storm won't be over before morning. What made you come out in weather like this? You never find your way back. Even people who know the moors well get lost in storms like this. Aren't you going to make the tea? The young man said, giving the lady an angry look. Is he going to have any? She asked Mr. Heathcliff, indicating me. Get it ready and be quick about it, he answered her in a tone so savage that I was shocked. In a tone so savage that I was shocked. His voice and his look both showed real hatred for that lovely young girl. There was evil in the man, I was sure. We ate and drank in a cold silence that I found most unpleasant. And that ends chapter 2. So lastly today, we take chapter 3. Mr. Lockwood stays the night. To break the silence and to cheer the company, I said, Mr. Heathcliff, you live in a lonely spot, but you are surrounded by apples. Your lovely wife, my lovely wife, he interrupted me with an evil look on his face, is dead and gone. My lovely wife is dead and gone. I had made a mistake and a foolish one, for he looked old enough to be the girl's father. I then thought the young fellow must be a husband. I turned to him and said, smiling, then you are the fortunate possessor of this lovely young lady? His face turned red. He clenched his fists. His face turned red. He clenched his fists. I thought that he was going to hit me. Your guesses are all wrong, Mr. Heathcliff told me. This lady is my daughter-in-law. she married my son. And this young man is not my son, snarled Mr. Heathcliff. My name is Ertin Enshaw, and I would advise you to respect it, growled the young man. I felt most uncomfortable, and I said no more. Neither did they. As soon as the meal was over, I went to the window to have a look at the weather. It was dreadful. A howling wind, deep snow, and dark night was fast approaching. I shall never find my way home without a guide. I said, go and drive the ship shelter. They can't be left out all night, Heathcliff shouted to Ertin Earnshaw. What shall I do? I asked. No one answered, and when I turned round, I saw that nobody was there but Mrs. Heathcliff. Mrs. Heathcliff, I said, excuse my bothering you. Can you tell me how to get home? Take the road you came by, she told me, setting herself into a chair with a book and a candle. I can't, it's buried under the snow. Surely you don't want me to lose my way and freeze to death. I can't show you the way. They wouldn't let me. They won't let me go out of the gates. I only want you to tell me the way, not show to me. Would you ask Mr. Heathcliff to give me a guide? Aren't there any boys on the farm? No. There is Earnshaw, Zillah, Joseph, and I. That's all. Then I shall have to stay here tonight. You must ask about that. It's nothing to do with me. Let this be a lesson to you, came Mr. Heathcliff's voice from the kitchen. In the future, stay at home when the weather's like this. I've got no beds for visitors. You will have to sleep with Ertin or Joseph. I can sleep on a chair in this room, I told him. Oh no, I don't trust strangers, rich or poor. Not I. By this time, my patience was at end. I ran out into the yard, determined to find my way home by myself somehow. Hardly had I gone 3 steps when I had to stop. The snow was blinding me. I heard a young man's voice. I'll go with him as far as the park. No, you won't. You've got the horses to see to. A man's life is more important than the horses, I heard Mrs. Heathcliff say. Somebody will have to go with him. I'm taking no orders from you, the young man said in anger. Then I hope that his ghost will haunt you. And I hope that Heathcliff will never find another tenant till the grange is ruined. Listen, she's cursing them, muttered Joseph from a barn nearby. He was milking a cow by the light of a lantern. I seized his lantern. Give me that, I'll send it back tomorrow. Master, master, he's stealing the lantern, shouted the old man. Then he shrieked at the dogs. Hey, wolf! Hey, Gnasher, hold him. The hairy monsters flew at me and knocked me down. I lay on the ground, shaking with fear and anger, till Mr. Heathcliff and Hareton pulled the dogs off. The two villains were bursting with laughter. I was bursting with rage. My nose began to bleed. Luckily, Zilla, the housekeeper, came running out. "Well, Mr. Heathcliff, are we going to have murder on our doorstep?" she screamed. "Look at the poor fellow. He is choking. I'll soon cure him." She did. She splashed ice-cold water on the back of my neck. Then she dragged me into her kitchen. I felt sick and faint. I could not have walked a single step in the snow. I had to stay the night at Wuthering Heights. Mr. Heathcliff left me to Zilla. She gave me a glass of brandy and then led me upstairs. That's it on this edition of Reading in the Garden. Thank you so much for listening to it, and you know that it's a safe content for every age, all classes of people to listen to. Your children, male and female, can watch this, they can listen to it. There's nothing that is sensitive, there's nothing that is vulgar, there's nothing that is indecent. So we invite you to share this with everyone, including young children. We see you again very soon as we proceed to chapter 4 of the book Wuthering Heights in the series Great Stories in Easy English. See you then. Bye for now.